A new chapter is unfolding in Middle Eastern diplomacy as Turkey and Iraq take a decisive step toward deeper strategic cooperation. On Sunday, Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan arrived in Baghdad to finalize a landmark agreement that could reshape the region's political and economic landscape. The visit came just 3 weeks after Iraqi Foreign Minister Fuad Hussein traveled to Ankara, signaling an unusual rhythm of high-level exchanges that reflect how quickly ties between the two neighbors are warming. At the center of this evolving partnership lies a deal that connects water, oil, and regional security, three pillars that have long defined the uneasy dynamics between Ankara and Baghdad. During a joint press conference, Fidan announced that the two countries had reached an understanding that would tie Iraq's oil revenues to the rehabilitation of its water resources, with Turkish companies taking the lead in implementation. For decades, disputes over water from the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, both of which originate in Turkey, have strained bilateral relations. Iraq has often accused Turkey of reducing water flow through its vast network of dams, particularly the Ataturk Dam and the Ilisu Dam, which are part of the massive Southeastern Anatolia Project, GAP. These structures, while vital for Turkey's energy and agricultural needs, have drastically affected downstream water supplies for millions of Iraqis. The new agreement seeks to change that dynamic. According to Fidan, the deal represents a two-pronged approach involving the modernization of Iraq's irrigation systems and a cooperative framework to manage shared river resources more efficiently. Turkish engineering and construction firms, already among the most active in Iraq, are expected to spearhead what Fidan described as potentially the largest infrastructure investment in Iraq's history. Early estimates suggest that this multi-billion-dollar initiative could rehabilitate hundreds of miles of irrigation canals and water treatment facilities, many of which have deteriorated after years of conflict and neglect. The Tigris-Euphrates basin is one of the world's oldest cradles of civilization but has become a hotspot for modern environmental and political tension. Iraq, which depends on these rivers for about 70% of its fresh water, has faced acute shortages over the past decade. Climate change has only worsened the crisis. The UN estimates that by 2030, Iraq's water availability could fall by up to 20% if current trends continue. Turkey, meanwhile, argues that it has the right to use its transboundary waters for development, insisting that it employs modern methods to minimize waste. The recent deal aims to strike a balance between these competing priorities. By linking Iraqi oil revenues, a critical economic resource for Baghdad, to the funding of water projects, the agreement provides a mechanism for sustainability. For Turkey, it also opens economic opportunities for its construction and technology sectors, which are struggling to offset inflationary pressures at home. Beyond water, the discussions in Baghdad extended to energy cooperation, a vital area of mutual interest. Fidan emphasized that the resumption of oil flows between the two countries through the Kirkuk-Ceyhan pipeline marked a key step in revitalizing bilateral trade. That pipeline, capable of transporting over 450,000 barrels per day, had been suspended due to technical and legal disputes, but is now back online, a move welcomed by both sides. Turkey and Iraq are also exploring joint projects in natural gas and electricity, aiming to create a more integrated energy network across their borders. In 2023, trade between the two nations exceeded $20 billion, and officials hope the new cooperation framework will push that figure beyond $30 billion within 5 years. Iraq remains one of Turkey's top export markets, buying construction materials, consumer goods, and agricultural products, while Turkish firms continue to dominate infrastructure and energy projects in Iraq. While economic cooperation took center stage, security remains a critical part of the Turkish-Iraqi dialogue. Fidan reaffirmed Ankara's support for Iraq's sovereignty and security, stressing that regional countries must address their own challenges without relying on outside intervention. His remarks reflected Ankara's long-standing vision of a regional solution for regional problems, emphasizing the need for unity among Middle Eastern nations facing shared threats like terrorism and instability. A central security issue is the presence of the PKK, Kurdistan Workers' Party, in northern Iraq. The group, which Ankara designates as a terrorist organization, maintains several strongholds in the Kandil Mountains, Sinjar and Makhmur regions, territories that fall under the jurisdiction of Iraq's Kurdistan regional government. Fidan praised Baghdad and the KRG for cooperating in counter-terrorism efforts while urging the complete withdrawal of PKK militants from Iraq. The PKK's recent announcement of plans to disband its armed units in Turkey has raised hopes that regional de-escalation could be within reach, though officials caution that disarmament in Iraq and Syria remains unresolved. The talks also touched on Iraq's domestic political climate ahead of the November 11th parliamentary elections. Fidan expressed confidence that the elections would demonstrate the maturity of Iraq's democratic institutions. The Turkish government, which has cultivated a close working relationship with Prime Minister Muhammad Shia al-Sudani, hopes to continue this cooperation regardless of the electoral outcome. Observers note that a stable and functioning Iraqi government is vital to Turkey's economic and security goals, particularly as the two nations pursue joint development projects and seek to reduce foreign influence in regional affairs. For Iraq, the meeting underscored a new era of pragmatic cooperation. Foreign Minister Fuad Hussein described the deal as the first of its kind in Turkish-Iraqi relations, highlighting that it evolved from earlier discussions and a memorandum of understanding on water management. He reaffirmed Iraq's commitment to addressing the PKK issue and emphasized Baghdad's hope for tangible solutions in areas like Makhmur and Sinjar, which have long been destabilized by militant activity. Hussein also noted that Iraq viewed the partnership with Turkey as one rooted in shared geography and mutual benefit, with potential to expand beyond trade and infrastructure into energy and cultural exchange. Fidan's remarks also reflected a broader regional vision. He pointed out that Turkey and Iraq, along with other neighboring states, were coordinating efforts to stabilize Syria and prevent new cycles of conflict. The Turkish minister framed this as part of a wider initiative to build a cooperative Middle East, one defined by self-reliance rather than external interference. Analysts see this as consistent with Ankara's evolving foreign policy, which seeks to project Turkey as a stabilizing power in the region. Fidan's statement that regional countries do not need saviors echoed his government's frustration with Western involvement in Middle Eastern conflicts. He emphasized that the Middle East has the resources, population, and cultural heritage to become a region of prosperity if its leaders can overcome division and pursue shared goals. The Turkey-Iraq agreement signed in Baghdad is more than a technical framework for water cooperation. It represents the foundation of a strategic partnership that touches on infrastructure, security, and energy. For Iraq, it offers a path to rebuild critical systems and attract investment. For Turkey, it consolidates its role as a regional power broker and economic partner in a part of the world where stability has long been elusive. With both countries facing common challenges, from climate stress to terrorism, their alignment could signal a new model for regional problem solving. As Iraq prepares for elections and Turkey continues to navigate a volatile geopolitical environment, their growing cooperation may serve as blueprint for how neighboring states can balance national interests with regional stability in an increasingly fragmented world.